welcome to today's episode. If you're new to the channel, we are actually swapping a 2JZ into an 86 platform, and the process has been interesting to say the least. So in today's episode, I want to tackle something that I kind of regret about not doing, but money-wise it was not the right moment to take this project to the next level, which basically is, as you can imagine from the title, making the automatic transmission a little bit more exciting. I don't like the automatic transmission. I'm quite not happy with it, but it is what it is. At this point in time, going into a manual transmission, you have basically two big options. One is a T56 and the other one is the CD09. Both of them, there are very well-known companies that can help you get into the adapters and everything that is needed to be able to run a 2J with those. But we're talking about between 5 to 8 grand, to say the least, in order to get access to the parts. So we're gonna pause that part from now, and it's gonna be in the future eventually. But now we're gonna make this transmission be more more interesting. Now on the positive note, if you think about the VVTi version of the 2JZ GTE, the one that is actually coming from the Aristo, the transmission itself, it has the capability of switching gears with paddle shifters. And if you think about the way the ECU controls this, gives us the opportunity to basically hijack this and hack this system. So these are the plugs that are connected to the ECU of the JDM 2JZ GTE, and specifically we're talking about this one here, the F59. There are a couple of pins that we need to trace and we need to plug. One is the SFTU, this is shift up, then we have a shift down, and then we have this one here, which is number 3, that basically what it does is allow the ECU to detect if the shifter inside the Aristo switch from drive to the manual mode. So the way this works, ground connection should be sent to the ECU, and then the ECU realize that the transmission needs to upshift or downshift. And then there's another one that we were talking about, which is the number 3. This one basically what it does is it gets 12 volts when the automatic transmission shifter is switched from drive to manual. So with all that information, it seems that it should be quite easy to plug this thing, wire it properly, and take our swap car with a lame automatic transmission to a paddle shifted type of transmission, which is quite more exciting. Yeah, it's probably not going to be as exciting as that one, nor as that one, but hey, it's gonna be something, so it's worth taking the shot and making this happen. When we think about this chassis, the good thing is that factory, they came with paddle shifters. So checking the connections, I found that we do have a transmission ECU with 2 pins, number 1 and number 2, which basically help us do the shift up and the shift down, and both of them, if we follow the circuits, are connected to ground. So I do assume that we can get ground connections through this and basically bypass that to the 2J ECU. And then there's one missing link, which is the 12 volts that we need to share with the ECU of the 2J, so it realized that it's in the manual mode, and I believe we might be able to take it from the pin 8. Okay, we're ready for the first test, which is we're gonna test paddle shift. Specifically, we're talking about the downshift. Basically, how this works is when I press downshift, it should give us ground. So I have that pin number 1 of the plug 19 kind of bypassed there, and as well connected to the ground here underneath the seat rail. And basically, let's see when I press this thing if this moves. There we go. Press and release. Something like that. Okay, same test, but now with the upshift. There we go. Okay, and last thing is to test if when we switch that shifter thing into the manual, it gives us 12 volts. So we're gonna check this thing now. We're gonna give power. Okay. No, that's not giving me 12 volts. So my main goal was being able to use the transmission shifter to power those 12 volts in the pin number 8, and within that 12 volts power the ECU of the 2J and let them know, hey, we're in manual. But I wasn't able to crack the code. Okay guys, so 3 hours later and a lot of tracing wires and trying to understand a little bit better how all this thing works, I can tell you that I didn't crack the code. So long story short is there is a switch in the automatic transmission of the BRZ that is connected with this plug. So let me explain you what I learned so far. So this is the plug that was in the engine bay that I just showed you. So you have a constant 12 volts that is coming from ignition, and then when you switch into drive, then it gives 12 volts to basically two things. One is a shift position indicator, which this is the one that it's showing that you're in drive, and it's actually working in that way. And then it gives 12 volts to the ECU, sorry, to the transmission ECU. This is pin 9. So what I was actually hoping was, okay, when I give 12 volts through drive and then I switch, because there's a switch thing here, and when I switch within this shifter to manual, then I should be able to get the famous 12 volts from the pin number 8. Long story short, I wasn't able to do so. Okay guys, so we hijack signal for both paddle shifters. There should be white and blue. Next step, before connecting these and clamping into the connector of the ECU, I'm gonna check if I do have ground connection, and we move forward. Good. And the other one. So we have power, shift up, shift down, and the pin is already locked. So this should be it. So let's plug this thing and let's see how we can do the power thing, and we take it for a ride. Okay, not the final situation, but hey, we're ready to test, and that's the important thing. So what do we have here? We have the ECU already plugged in and connected. We grab old school 12 volts from the cigarette lighter thingy, and then those 12 volts go through a wire, and that connects to the red one, and that red one is the one that you saw on the other side. It's not the final solution, but we're ready to test. Okay guys, we're out, and I hope it doesn't blow in million pieces. So let's engage drive, and now let's give 12 volts. Okay, that thing engaged 12 volts, nothing happened, I don't hear any noise. Okay, let's see. This is first gear. Let's see if it switched gears. Switched gear. I don't see this thing working. It engaged. Okay, something happened. It went back to first gear. Second gear. Third gear. Let's see. Downshift. Doing something, right? Not sure what. Okay, I think it's working, guys. I don't know what happened in the beginning, but look at this. First gear. Second gear. ever seen, but hey, it works. And it actually works. I'm quite stoked about it. And look at this. You can downshift, and downshift is pretty nice. Look. Looks pretty nice. I think it's pretty cool. A while, but I think that I nailed it. So you engage drive, you engage the manual mode, homemade manual mode, and I do not touch anything. This is not gonna activate the paddle shifters. It's gonna make the car work as if nothing happened before. First gear, second gear, third gear, okay? And everything is engaged. You would say, but what happened? Then you do the following. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then that's it. Now second gear is not going to be engaged. Now I have to engage gears. So first gear, second gear, and third gear, and fourth gear. And now here's another catch. If I stop, remember we were in fourth gear. If I stop, the ECU automatically shifts down to first gear, but deactivates again the paddle shifter because it thinks that I just don't want to go manual. I'm lazy again. So first gear, second gear, and third gear. Now if you stop and you engage gear and you leave it in first one, then the car, as we saw, right? We shift now. First gear, second, and third. But then if you stop and you downshift, then it keeps the working, it keeps working in manual mode. So I downshift to second, and I downshift to first gear. And then I go out again. And now I need to keep shifting myself. Aristo. I mean, I learned something new. It's probably not very common in today's Tiptronic or whatever they are called, the automatic manual transmissions. But the point is, it works. It works.